by becoming rich. Take all your money, buy Bitcoin.
You can wake up every morning and say GM.
GM. GM, 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 GM. Alright. Today is Tuesday. And it's the, 3rd of September. So, I'm going to look at a bit of higher time frame for daily levels. And pick out some key levels. And then we'll go back and look at some lower time frame on trade of the day. We have some economic data coming today. Manufacturing PMI, I think it is. So potentially some decent trades again. We've had to suffer through a slow weekend, although there was a nice little bit of movement yesterday towards the end of the day. I think that move has exhausted now. We're looking for a retest, but that's trade of the day. We'll look at that over there. Okay, GM. So where was everything on Friday? Futures markets are open, but yesterday was a public holiday. It was Labor Day for the burgers. So we go back to Friday. Friday's close. And we see here. Friday's close was here. So S&P is below Friday's close. Nasdaq will be the same, no doubt. Gold, how it's looking in comparison to Friday. Gold at Friday here. Pretty much in around that level. The dollar is moving to new highs here. Interesting. So at the close of last week, the dollar was around here. Okay, so there we go. So dollar up. Stocks down, Bitcoin is flat, sideways in comparison. There's Friday's close. No, sorry, that's Sunday's. Let's look over here. Friday's close for BTC is all the way over here. And we came back down to that level like I mentioned in trading analysis. Probable pullback area would be New York close from Friday as we get closer to the Tuesday New York Open. So that's what we've done. We've pulled back into that area. So we're basically right back where we should be. Stocks have opened up a little bit lower. Dollars opened up a little bit higher. Most of it's just in around where it should be. And it's a new month for all of these. So part of the reason why I pointed that out a second ago was this. If you're looking at, okay, that's slightly down and the dollar's slightly up, etc. But if you go to the monthlies, these are brand new monthlies, which we're probably going to see some movement to either side, right, before you get a directional impulse. Why is that important? Because at the beginning of a month, you don't want to get yourself too far onto one side or the other. Bitcoin has actually had both sides already. And I think this is, to be honest, I think this is setting up pretty much in the way that I had mentioned it on Weekly Outlook. So let's take the monthly open as well. Let's get rid of that other one. Sunday, here we go. This is August's monthly open, right? Sorry, September. So what we've had so far in September is a move down and a move back up. We've tested both sides. We've went below, we've went above. We've taken out stops on either side. We haven't quite touched that yet, but unfortunately for anyone who is expecting this to be a super strong trend in either direction, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we actually do have, setting up pretty well, is a range from the extremes of September so far. So we have our low, and let me see if we see this on maybe a 1 hour chart more clearly to begin with. We've got our low, so this is currently September's low, and that was on Monday's open as well, so it's also the weekly low. And exact same thing here, we have September's high and the weekly high, and then let's take that off. Let's put on the top G indicator. and we will keep on just one monthly and one weekly open. There we go. Perfect. So we've got our weekly open marked. We've got our monthly open marked. We've got our range extremes. We've got our range high and our range low, which is also September's high. Now, when I say range high and range low, obviously if you've done the lessons and you're learning ranges, this isn't a confirmed range yet. This is a downtrend that is turning into more of a sideways consolidation. My expectation, given that we dumped all the way down and we rallied all the way up, so that would be a retracement of the final leg. It's broken structure. It's also put in quite a toppy candle, so I have a feeling that this is not going to trend higher. I also have a feeling that it's not going to trend lower, and so it might set up an interesting range play for this week, where you might see the structure break and then a rally, maybe a sweep, maybe a retest of the lows. I think we might see a bit of this. So it's provisional, but I'll be watching this developing range as an area to potentially trade through, which would look something like this. If we get another confirmation, you might see some movement to either side. You get your 25 and 75. Again, I would not trade this yet. This is lining up as a potential, but I'm looking at it as, if my assumption from the weekly outlook is correct, which I'm pretty confident that we don't see any major movement this week. If we do, it'll probably be Friday when the employment numbers come out. And this is how I'd be looking at it. You got your mid-range, you got your range high, your range low. And at the moment, the mid-range is just also, if this is not a range, it's just a trend, it's just going to be a pullback. So if it pulls back into the mid-range and holds, and then goes to break out, that makes that breakout far more valid, because this would not be a range move, it would just be a early trend. And then you got your extremes. So with that principle in mind, below 56.6 and above 60.4 really is where we should actually see a trending move. I would say if we get above 60.4, you're probably going to see it move all the way up to this breakdown point that was untested. So I think that is a pretty clean and easy target if it goes above. And if we break below, that 55k weekly is a good level as well. That old weekly here. Put that across there. We zoom back in. Yeah. So below there, I think we go to 55. If we lose 55, there's not a huge amount before 53. I think there was one other level, 50-week EMA or something I was talking about. But that's how I'm looking at now. Quickly look at ETH. Is anything happening with ETH? No. So if you remember yesterday, ETH was actually outperforming briefly. ETH outperformed on the way up. It is now weakened more on the way down. The structure is already broken on ETH. Actually sets up a nicer trade. If there's going to be a further retracement back into the range, ETH probably looks like it will sell off first. But overall for ETH, it's just really in a higher time frame compression like this. You can see here. It's making higher lows, but it's also making lower highs. So it's just squeezing. After a breakdown, squeezing into a compression. Breaking structure here. You're sort of seeing the beginnings of a potential over-under. If ETH were to fail a retest there, come back below September's open, it probably flushes to the weekly open pretty quickly. There's quite a nice trade idea into this gap if we see that. That's one to keep an eye on. That retest, if it does come back up, would also be the daily open. There's a couple good levels. How does Solana look in comparison? Solana is similar. It's taken out a bunch of liquidity. It's below its monthly open. It's in a far tighter range though, relatively. It didn't trend anywhere near as much. And this is common. Bitcoin had much more movement, and Ethereum and Bitcoin both had more volatility. And it's just, for me, it's just due to the fact that there's far less participation. So if you imagine how much liquidity there is in the market in times like this, when it's quiet, if you've got like is there a circle tool? There's got to be a circle, right? There is a circle. I don't think I've ever used this fucking tool. That is G. Who's going to draw circles on their fucking charts? Me. So, if this is like all the liquidity / participation, or I should just say volatility, to be honest. I'm just going to say volatility. And you're taking it from the majors in terms of traders. The longer we go through these dead phases, the less evenly distributed that will get, right? So, I mean, I should really have it in threes, in thirds. This is a very random fucking thing. But you'll see the method in the madness shortly, where you have BTC. That's definitely not the Bitcoin fucking logo, is it? You've got Ethereum, which is meant to be a fucking diamond or whatever. And you've got Sol, which I don't even know what the fucking logo for Sol is. It's just a weird S. When the market's active, you will see, you would actually see it the other way around in terms of volatility. This is not in terms of like how much volume or how much open interest. That's always going to be highest in Bitcoin. But in a bullish market, you'll see Solana move a lot more than the other two, because there's more risk taking. In a bearish market, like we're in right now, and I don't mean bearish as in it has to go to zero, just bearish in terms of participation, you'll see less on Sol. That doesn't look right. You'll see less on ETH, and you'll see more on Bitcoin. And that's kind of an indication in itself, where Solana, that was one of the most random drawings ever, Solana has had really not much in the way of trading opportunity or volatility. ETH had quite a nice impulsive trend to those highs, and then BTC had by far the best, where it took the lows, came all the way up, took out some significant highs, and moved higher. It's not just about percentage change, it's about the risk reward opportunities. Obviously Solana is always going to be more volatile because it's just higher beta, but Bitcoin offered better opportunities in that move because there was more shorts to squeeze. There was more activity. Ethereum slightly less, Solana less again. And so when you start to see that changing, when you start to see Solana having a bit more movement than, especially than ETH, it would be one of the signs of risk on conditions coming back. But for right now, I think people are holding. They're sitting tight. They're not getting too involved so early in September, and we just need to see where it goes. So that's it. GM. See you later. 4 p.m. UTC for the live stream. Campus onboarding plus Ask Michael live. GM.